22. Looks like we are all here, so we have a quorum. So I will call this meeting to order. The first quick order of business is approval of the July 25th, 2022 minutes. I will move to approve. If I can get a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. No one left to be opposed, so with that it passes. And with that, we get to our only other item on the agenda today, which is the Arpa application process. I'm going to say a few things and give my other council members a chance to say a few things if they'd like to, and then we'll jump right into it. This is the beginning of a complicated process. The Arpa applications have highlighted something many of us know, which is that there are many good people and organizations in this community working every day to better the lives of others and make Topeka a place that takes care of people. The $10 million that is available is a significant amount of money that will make a difference. It's also not enough to meet all of the needs. We've received 85 applications totaling just more than $34 million. Every application is an effort to address a need in our community, ranging from mental health to homelessness to senior care to economic development to just simple everyday necessities. This committee thanks everyone who has applied. More importantly, we thank each one of you for the work you do and the positive impact you have on Topeka. The simple reality is we cannot fund everyone. Not receiving funding through this process does not mean your project is not valuable to our community. It is. It just means we have had to make determinations based on where we believe these dollars can have the most impact today and can continue to have an impact well past tomorrow. The governing body of the whole did not pass any official guidelines or rules for us to follow in this process. Through several meetings, however, members of the governing body did provide us general direction as to what they would like us to prioritize. For the City Council and Mayor, this direction is for us to prioritize projects that address chronic community problems and social service needs over economic development and private business interests. This also means doing our best to select projects that have long-term sustainability and long-lasting impacts in our community. I also know we will do our best to honor the stated goals of our colleagues while also using our own collective judgment to make the best decisions we can. Today, we are making one of two decisions for each project. That is whether an application moves forward or does not move forward. If an application does not move forward, then this committee has determined that application will not be recommended for funding. If an application moves forward, that does not mean a project is being approved for funding. It does mean this committee is looking for additional information before a final determination is made. That information will include the following from applicants: an organizational structure chart, a specific project budget, and any answers to any additional questions asked by members of this committee. Here is the timeline for that process. At the conclusion of this meeting, members of this committee will have until next Friday, August 26th, to submit their questions to myself and staff. Those questions will be sent to applicants on Monday, August 29th, along with the request for additional information. Applicants will have until Friday, September 9th, to provide all follow-up information. That follow-up information will be made available to the committee by staff on Monday, September 12th. And committee members will have 2 weeks to review that information before our next scheduled meeting on Friday, September 23rd. If possible, it is the goal of this committee to make final recommendations on September 23rd. However, if at that time there is additional information members of the committee need, or if the committee feels it needs more time to deliberate, then we will. This process will not be hurried just for the sake of getting it over with. If this committee needs more time, then we will plan to continue discussions and possibly make final determinations at our scheduled meeting in October. When this process is complete, a final recommendation will be forwarded to the full governing body for final approval. These recommendations are only final by vote of the full governing body. Applicants and the public will have at that time an opportunity to speak with other council members about these recommendations before any vote is taken. Today, we will offer public comment at the end of the meeting. For anyone who wants to say anything, we will open that up. We will follow the same rules we follow at council meetings. We are not going to offer public comment after each application, as each application asks questions and provided the information we requested at that time, and there are 85 in front of us. We've also decided that if we have a disagreement over a project or discussion on whether a project should or should not move forward, we will take a vote, and by 2-to-1 majority, that will be the decision on that application. With that, I hope this lays out our process, kind of lets people know where we're going, as clear as we can make it at this point, and I will offer it to the committee members if they have anything they would like to say or add before we get started. Councilman Valdivia-Alcala.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things. One, thank you to all that are watching on Zoom, watching on TV, and also all of you that have come to this meeting. There's a couple of things, well, several things I'd like to say. But first and foremost, I would ask everyone that considers themselves a praying person to pray for grace for us. Pray for intentionality for us, and as much as possible to remove the politics from this so that we can see where the true need is in the agencies that will best serve that need. One of the things that I'm going to be focusing on is the social determinants of health, which are economic stability, education access and quality, healthcare access and quality, neighborhood and built environment, and social and community context. The other thing I want to be very vocal on, because we're not always vocal on it on City Council, is I will be looking at the applications from also the perspective of racism as a public health crisis in the Black and brown community. There is so much need after looking at these 80 or so applications, so much need. And it really begs a deeper questions about what are the systemic issues that are causing these needs to increase rather than decrease. I understand that this is not the place for that, but I would beg you within your own organizations, in organizations that you partner with, to dig deeper, to ask what are the systemic issues, and then be brave enough to come forward with those systemic issues to us. I'm not afraid to talk about them, but we have to start dealing with it. We are a small community. We are an intimate community. And I think that whatever the challenges that lay ahead, we have to be prepared for them as a community. And so I will be looking at issues that the council brought forth that they wanted to focus on, in addition to issues such as elder care, child care, affordable housing, mental health, digital needs, neighborhood program, job training, food insecurity, living wage, homelessness, education. Again, no promises can be made. All we can do is move forward with intention and hard work. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Nager, would you like to say anything?
Yes, Chair, thank you. This was an incredibly hard stack of applications to get through because everybody was addressing a need that we all know that we have in this community. What's so difficult about this is the only time we're ever going to go ahead and have this sort of application. This is the first time we're doing this. This will be the last time we do this, God willing. There is no other American Rescue Plan Act that needs to be put into place because of a pandemic. That being said, looking through everything, we are really focused as a group. I'm very, very confident to amplify these $10 million as much as possible to make sure that we're reaching into all corners of the community and lifting up all boats rather than focusing on some larger projects that, larger economic development projects. I would also, in looking at these applications, there are a lot of wonderful organizations within our community that as I got to the are your services duplicated in this community? Question. They answered not to our knowledge or no. And then I would go 3 applications later, and then there would be a very similar organizational mission. I encourage all of us to make sure that we are going back out into the community after we talk about these applications today and find out if there are duplications of similar parts of your mission, and look to band together with those organizations. There are wonderful, wonderful ideas out there, and if we can all band together, we can amplify more than just this $10 million. We can amplify all of our funds, resources, and volunteers. Thank you to everybody who spent the time, not only getting these applications together, but the time serving the community. We know you can't do it alone, so we're here to support you. And in the spirit of what my other 2 committee members have said, please be patient with us, and we are here to listen. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Councilwoman.
I had asked this one off with Steve, but I just want to make sure that we're clear about it at the meeting. I had questions about the number of religious organizations applying, not so much that it was a religious organization, but when I looked at the website, I did not see, other than yes, they can apply, but any other guidelines. So I would just like Steve Wade, our finance director, to come up and basically let folks and community know what you told me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair. It is our interpretation that because we have chosen to go the route of revenue replacement and lost revenue in the way that we have sought for Arpa funds, that some of the restrictions that would normally be placed on religious applications are removed. However, when I look at the original federal Arpa restrictions tied to this, funds cannot be utilized for any religious purpose, including but not limited to religious worship, instruction, and evangelism. Funding may only be used to support non-religious social services. We will seek full clarification with City Attorney, but we believe this is the accurate interpretation.
Thank you for that. And I do the reason I felt that this was so important, because I want it to be clear as well that one thing I'm committed to after this process is tracking. So
Yes, ma'am.
tracking for results and efficacy and how monies were spent, et cetera. And we know that, yes, there's, people can worship in their own ways, whatever, but the needs are the needs, and they're here. So, and it's pretty spelled out. So I appreciate your comments on that, so the public will know.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll start at the start. I think in the front of our booklets, we each have a list. So that's what I'm going to be using as our guide, just if that helps. I won't. I will not. And if you think I'm going too fast, please say, whoa, buddy, slow down. I will not be offended. I want to make sure we go the exact pace we need to go at it. So the first one in our binder is the Topeka LULAC Multipurpose Senior Center. Amount requested, $125,000. And while some of this is a short version of this, it's to assist with making their building ADA compliant. I guess what I'll do first is see if anyone has comments on each one or thoughts, and I can always offer mine too. But
Again, just knowing that we're going into an additional phase with much more question and information, I'm saying move forward on this.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
Okay. We'll see. I gotta turn these big binder pages.
Yeah, I took mine out of my binder.
I know. I should have. You should have told me that before the meeting. That was a good tip. The next one on our list is the Topeka North Outreach. Their request was for $20,000, providing meals to students with food insecurities. Again, these are short versions of this. We have all read the application, so I just want the public to know. Some of them may be a little more extensive than that, but That's sort of the short version.
Yes, Chair, I would just want people to know too, we have read every application.
Yes.
There's no skipping. This was serious stuff. So,
It took hours.
yeah, so I'm saying for this, as well to move forward.
I agree.
Yep. I also agree. The next one is, oh gosh. And if I miss one on this list, somebody tell me. I don't think I will, but let me know. The next one on the list is the East Topeka Senior Center. Their request was for $50,000, and it's for vehicles to transport seniors.
I request move forward.
I would agree.
I'll just go third for the agree or disagree, so I don't step on either one of your toes.
Okay, no, that's good. I just want to make sure everyone has their chance to. The next one is from IBSA, which is a request for $92,000 to assist with job assistance and programs for LMI individuals. I looked at this and my thought was I have some other questions, but I'm okay with it moving forward.
As am I.
Yes.
One of the longer ones. There we go. 18 pages. All right. The next one is for the Topeka Performing Arts Center. Request for $94,714. $94,714, which is renovations for the theater. As everyone knows, I am a huge supporter of TPAC. I continually suggest to my colleagues we have got to do better in funding them. I will just say, though, as you'll see with me with a couple other projects, so the point is, I feel this is a very worthwhile project, but not necessarily for these dollars at this time. So that is my...
And Chair, I would concur in that, the arts and entertainment as venues that we have here are wonderful, and I know that there's need. The need, though, to me is so much greater in community and the direction that we've been given. So I would say no.
Like I said, this one hurts me to say it, but I just think as we're prioritizing these, that is one. Do you have any thoughts, Hannah?
I agree with the fact that this is something that we do need to figure out a way to fund. The ARPA dollars are not the correct way to do that at this time. I do hope that this comes before the governing body in the discussion of other funds, though. So I agree this will not move forward.
The next one is the Patterson Family Child Care. Their request was for $50,000 to sustain operations and meet community needs.
I am just going to say initially, okay, the first move in, one of the things that we have been hearing for the past year or more, childcare. So I think that this deep dive into childcare facilities, whether they're, reduced rate, LLCs, whatever they are, is going to be worth the time that it takes. So I would say move forward on it.
I would agree.
And I would agree.
The next request is from the Team Blake Foundation in the amount of $60,000 for financial assistance for child cancer families.
This sounds like a wonderful initiative, Chair. However, it does appear like, there is a fundraising capacity that they have that many of these foundations do. I would also say that there's the Ronald McDonald House and other entities. Again, because of the need that we are seeing out there, I will say no on this.
I mean, I would agree with that. Team Blake is it's a great foundation. It does a lot of good work. But again, as we've looked at some of the other needs that have been applied, I have sort of the same sentiments as you, Councilmember.
And I felt the same way.
Next one is from the Community Center at Ripley Park, $25,000 for a walk-in freezer and cooler, plumbing, and signage.
I'm going to suggest moving forward.
Okay. And then I guess they actually have two and others for a separate part of the kitchen, so we can kind of, I won't say lump these together, they're separate applications, but if we want to discuss them together, to move forward on both of them, I would agree.
I would agree as well.
All right, there we go. Does not get any easier to get this book. The next one is from Positive Connections in the amount of $40,000 for case management for HIV individuals.
Okay. How many pages is that?
I know, I'm on the wrong page
I
here.
lost it.
Sorry, me too. I think I went too far.
I think.
And I wish I gave you guys a page number, but
Yeah, they each have their own page number, but the book, which is fine.
Exactly.
We understand why the book doesn't have page numbers, but yes.
everybody there?
I had put them as yes.
I had
don't
to.
have them, but I moved forward.
I had
did
to.
have.
I think that's an important need, and I do have some questions, but I definitely would like to get those answered.
Yep. I felt the same.
There we go. Now I'm back in business. The next one I have is Most Pure Heart of Mary, Kirch Child Development Center, in the amount of $100,000 for an early education playground.
I'm just going to say, Chair, I'm not for this.
I agree. I don't know if you have any thoughts, council member?
I agree. I want to make sure that we're getting things out to the majority of the community. And I felt like this wasn't a wide enough base.
The next one on our list is Mirror Inc. in the amount of $600,000 for a sober living program, inpatient and outpatient. Why am I on the wrong?
Is that what you? I had.
Do you have something
Oh,
different?
no. You're right.
Yeah, there's like a
Sentence
space.
underneath.
Yeah, there's a
Development
space in
center
that on the list.
Okay.
That threw me off.
I'm for moving forward to delve into this further.
I am too.
Agreed.
I will say, and I left this out of my initial comments, and I apologize. One of the discussions, I think we don't have to have it today, but I think as some of us looked at these, there were some of these applications that they asked for several items within their application. And I think a fair discussion for us to have to put out there that we'll have later is talking to some of these groups about a reduction in the amount, to go back to them and say as part of our questions, hey, maybe this full amount doesn't work, but we understand if we break it down, there's some needs within your needs. So I want to put that out there that as we move forward on some of these, that may be a follow-up question that we have for applicants is, can we work with you here to get you something to make this work within the total that we're given? So
Chair.
apologize,
Chair.
'cause I was asked to mention that earlier and I forgot. Yes, Councilmember.
Chair, I would very much want that to be one of our questions, is break down exactly what those costs are so we can start to go ahead and figure out where are the best places for us to go ahead and help fund those resources. And we can strategize, because some of these things are going to be much easier to fundraise for, whereas other things are going to be much easier to just use the grant. So I do want breakdowns of what we can help with, and if we need to get to the point where we're negotiating how much we can help with, we can go ahead and fund full parts of the plan, so we're not just leaving you with not as much.
Chair.
Perfect. Yes.
Did that get jarbled?
Yes, no, that
No,
makes
I
sense. Thank you.
misunderstood. Thank you, Chair. I would agree. I think that my rationale is coming to you folks that are listening or here. It's not saying that's going to happen on every one. It's just saying, please do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. These are tight funds, and if we can shave something off somewhere after discussions with you, then understand that that could then be something that we can help one of your other agencies that work with you in this community. So again, it's that time of grace that we ask for. Thanks, Chair.
Yep, thank you. Yes, all right. Like I said, I meant to mention that earlier so that maybe some people had some context on some of these as we move them forward. The next one is Trinity Presbyterian Church. Request was $75,000 for a digital information sign. while I understand the importance they laid out of this and getting their information out in their application, I just don't think it fits in with what we're looking for at this time, from my perspective.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Next request is from Total Fitness Body Zone in the amount of $5.5 million for a football track, ball diamond, sports courts, and other athletic facility. I think that would be great in Topeka. I certainly don't think that's what the intent of these dollars were for at this time, from my perspective.
Agreed.
Agreed, and maybe they should consider Shawnee County Parks and Rec, but these things are always needed. It's just not what we're looking for right now.
Well, somehow I've missed one. But, next one is Cornerstone of Topeka, in the amount of $229,256 for transitional housing duplex.
I felt this fit our parameters, and I would like to see it move forward.
Agreed.
Excuse me, I would agree. The next request was from Kansas Children's Discovery Center in the amount of $370,000 for new concrete panels.
I don't believe that it fits the parameters, so I would not agree with this.
I would agree with that. Much like TPAC, I'm a strong supporter of the Discovery Center. Do what I can to buy memberships for people and that sort of thing. But again, I just don't think it fits in when we're prioritizing these needs with where we're at.
Agreed.
The next request is from Strengthening and Equipping Neighborhoods Together, which is the CENT program, for the amount of $600,000 for the Fremont Hill Housing Project, Phase 1.
Chair, I'm going to say that on this, I've heard a number of things either way with CENT. My concern here is multiple in that concerns about gentrification, concerns about the wage that would be needed to pay for some of these houses on this, this phase development. We don't need, in my opinion, more new houses. What we need is to build upon the vacant spaces that we have open in neighborhoods where houses once stood. We need rehabs, all of that, and truly affordable housing. So I'm going to say no on this.
Councilmember Nager, any thoughts?
I have also heard things. I am less informed on what's all going on with these projects. I know that CENT has some other applications in, and they might be more appropriate for these funds. I would not be against moving forward and maybe finding out more about this, but honestly, the fact that Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala has reservations does give me reservations. So I'm not helpful.
Well,
My opinion is right now.
I will concur with Councilmember Valdivia Alcala. There's another project they have that I do support moving forward in this packet, but this is not one of them. So I am inclined to not move it forward at this time.
All right. Well, then we have 2.5 out of 3, so we're good. Thank you.
Yeah, the next one is from Topeka Collegiate School in the amount of $107,500 for food and extended daycare for students in need. I'm going to take myself out of the conversation on this one, as I have a student at Topeka Collegiate, and it would not be appropriate for me to weigh in one way or the other on it. So, not to put the pressure on you two, but I'm good with whatever you decide, but I need to make that clear from the get-go.
Well, thank you for that, Chair, for being so transparent. Okay, I know it's a wonderful school. It really, really is, and, I wish I could have sent my daughter there. But I can't support this because there's just too many other deep needs that we're going to have a hard enough time with. So I don't support moving this forward.
All right. I agree with you.
Next one is the historic Jayhawk Theater in the amount of $1,350,000 to increase theater occupancy and building repairs. Sorry, it's all right.
How much did you say it was?
1.3
Oh,
million.
yeah. Again, I would not be in support of this type of endeavor. Historic Jayhawk Theater, fantastic, but not for this small pool of funds that we have.
I agree. I hope they get their money. I will continue to tell people to donate to them, but much like the issue with TPAC and several other similar requests, it just doesn't reach the level, I don't think, of what we're trying to accomplish here in this process.
I agree. And much like what I said about TPAC, I think that there are ways that we can go ahead and support them as a city. I think we should look and need to look into it, but agreed. The pool of funds is getting smaller and smaller as we get through this, so.
The next one is Open Arms Outreach Ministries in the amount of $150,000 for the Community Oasis Project, Shelter and Food. I'm on the wrong page.
They've been in existence for 19 years. I have not heard a lot about them. I was able to look up some information on them, so I think it's worth a deeper dive.
I agree. I had the same thing. I've saw that they're doing good things, but I have follow-up questions, but I'd like to have the opportunity to ask them those.
Agreed.
The next request is for Habitat for Humanity in the amount of $475,000 for affordable housing partnership and construction.
I agree to move forward.
I really should have done what you did. You should have called me and said, use Post-it notes to find your pages.
I know you just.
I agree
don't
too.
pull out. Thanks.
Yes, I agree. Moving forward.
Yeah.
Sorry for my side there. The next is for Community Resource Council, the amount of $250,000 for computer internet labs for LMI communities.
I will say, as I read into this application, I was just absolutely fascinated because of having possible hubs in neighborhoods. So I would like to learn more and request that it move forward.
Same here. This is one of those that I'll say falls in the gray area is not the right word, but I think can have a real impact, especially for individuals who don't have access to these things, which matters for jobs and benefits
don't have a car.
and don't have vehicles. And so, while I'm not sure, I definitely will have questions and would like to see it move on.
Understood.
Agreed.
The next one is from Fellowship Highcrest in the amount of $150,000 for renovations to the Ford Center for the community.
There's one other application that Cent has out that I'm much more partial to. This is really utilization
Which one?
of,
Fellowship Highcrest?
oh, yeah, but it's under Cent.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Oh,
Fellowship. It's.
I
this
didn't.
is-
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
this is to the vacant space that they have to put recording
Yep.
studios
Right.
and all of this. And again, I just think it doesn't meet the criteria of the need that we're trying to address.
Agreed. I think it's a very innovative idea. I wish them luck, but I do think that out of the different programs that were presented from this organization and associated organizations, that this one wasn't the one that fit the parameters as well.
The next one is the Shawnee County Medical Society Health Access in the amount of $25,000 for healthcare prescriptions for low income.
I just want to say something about this one. Anybody had the right to go and ask for as much or as little. And when I see these small ones and how they're just trying to meet base requirements, I mean, it really does kind of, it's not that you automatically want to give it a yes or a no, but you realize how some organizations just see asking for the base amount just so they can get through. So I would say I want to learn more about this and move forward.
I did have a question about this one.
Okay.
On page 8, it says in the second paragraph, describe what other funding is available. And what have you secured or expect to secure from this project? In the second paragraph, state of Kansas will assist, one-time grant. Is the $250,000 coming from the state of Kansas? Because there have been, I think from looking at all of these applications, there were different grammatical errors, there were different spelling errors, and I just want to make sure that they are asking for $25,000 and not, and maybe it was just because I was reading this later at night and I just got a stomach ache and I'm like, are they asking for $250,000?
They're asking for 25,000. I read that too, and I had to go back and read that several times because I think what they're saying is that they can utilize some of this for the state of Kansas funding that's coming their way, which includes 250,000, which is one of the follow-up questions I would be asking them if this moves forward, so we can get a clarification.
Excellent.
Yeah.
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 I am the council and have been the council representative for Shawnee County Health Access. This is my third year, and I'm going to try to make sure they change the timing of the meeting, and so I need to change around my schedule. But I can also, if we do have further questions, I can go ahead and ask, but I know that we will be formally asking them. I would suggest that this move forward as well, but okay. I'll be curious to hear. And if they're watching this, we'll talk later, but.
Sounds good. We will move that one forward. The next one is prevention and resiliency services in the amount of $335,000 to expand services, software, and parking lot repairs.
Honestly, I'm half in and half out on this. I mean, just like, it's like straight down the middle on whether to move it forward or not. I think because of that, being split in the middle, my consideration is going to be to move forward.
For me, this is one that goes back to our have discussions if there's reduced amounts, because while part of their application has some things that I think are needed, I'm not sure we can be paying for parking lot repairs with these ARPA funds. And so, so there's a few other applications like that where some include salaries or some other items that I'd like the opportunity to at least go back and say, is this an option? And so I'm with you. I'd like to move it forward and have that conversation to see if there's some flexibility there.
And I also agree.
The next one is Doorstep Inc. in the amount of $181,000 for rental assistance, daycare, and other bills of LMI.
I suggest moving forward.
Agreed.
Agree. Yep. The next one is Stormont Vale in the amount of $1 million to expand Block's childcare and add a second childcare facility.
I would like to move forward with this to find out more.
I'd like to move forward, and definitely after reading the application, I want to make sure some questions are cleared up about what children it is that they're taking in, if it's staff only or if it might be from outside of the community as well. So I would say move forward on it.
All right, then we'll move forward.
I do think, didn't they say it was reduced tuition for staff, and then
yeah, that was part of it.
No, they break down.
Yeah, no, it was in there. Yep. The next one is the City of Topeka Housing in the amount of $500,000 to carry out and execute impact avenues. I will say, so you're going to know where I'm headed on this one as we go, but I will say that while the City of Topeka made the application for this, there are a host of community groups that requested whether they should make the application or not, and since Topeka helps hold the money, the determination was that the city should be the applicant versus one of the other organizations. So whether that impacts or not, that's fine. I just want to be clear as to why the city is the applicant on this one. Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't know that the city I didn't know that that they were kind of, all the other agencies were pointing to you, you city, you do it. I had deep concerns when I first saw this application come up, not because I don't believe in the program. I've heard a lot of good things about MAP. My concern, and I talked with you about my concern, was that City staff put this out for an application. It came in and it was like, well, number one, the entity that had sponsored this said that he was not going to fund it anymore and that it was supposed to be self-sustaining, after that first year. But that's not even the issue so much as it came in as an application from the city. To me, the way I saw it, that was unfair in that it was going to be a sure thing to get that map program, done again. And it's almost like if the city's going to work like that, then they should just have taken out the $500,000 and say, okay, public organizations, et cetera, we have a pool of $9,500,000. That's the way I see it to a point. So I'm not going to state, in my mind, to kill it without further review because of all of the students and their families involved in it. So I propose that it moves forward. I just think it was a very unfortunate way in which it happened.
Obviously, I would like to see it move forward, and I am still, and staff knows this, talking to them about other funding sources for that program because it's lifted, as the council member said, 100 families, 100 children off the streets. So it's obviously a great program. We've kind of been stuck with trying to figure out the funding. So I both want to find the funding, but also not take away dollars from this process. So I'm going to ask for it to move forward, but I'm going to continue to work with staff over the next 30 days to see if we can squeak out some dollars in some other areas to make it happen and get it off the list. But I at least want it to stay on here for now. So.
Agreed. Well said, both of you.
The next one is Positive Connections in the amount of $180,000 for prevention, education, and a mobile testing unit.
I say move forward. This is their second application, so I think, we're going to have to break it down and see what's going where, but I suggest it moves forward as well.
I would agree.
Agreed.
Assuming I'm back on the right new second page, the next one I have is again from Scent in the amount of $50,000 for mental health services for Highcrest. This is one of their applications that I would like to see move forward.
I like the idea of moving it forward because of the sliding scale that they're proposing using the need that the southeast part of Topeka needs. So I'd like to find out more about this and to move it forward.
Yes.
The next one is from Child Care Aware of Eastern Kansas in the amount of $1.5 million essentially and some change for the expansion of current child care services.
Childcare is one of the things we've been hearing just a huge amount about, and now Momentum 2027 or 2030 or whichever one it is has championed this after so many years of having so many child care deserts. I would really like to do a deep dive into how Riva and staff see this 1.5 million being used, and I would say to move forward on it.
I would agree. I currently sit on one of the task force for child care concerns here in Shawnee County and Topeka, and it's horrifying. I mean, that's the nicest word I can use in terms of the shortage of staff and things that we need. We'll decide whether this is one of the programs where dollars can be spent, but I would like to, I too have some questions to get a little more clarification.
Agreed.
The next one is First Congregational Church of Topeka in the amount of $450,000 for trauma care and shelter for teens, LGBTQ plus safety.
I would like to see this move forward.
I would also.
Yep, agree. The next one is the Salvation Army of Topeka in the amount of $25,000 for individuals facing a housing or utility shutoff.
I think, Chair, I think that this is one where, and it would be interesting because I'm sure Shelley will come and speak on this. It's going to be interesting because this is somewhat of a duplication of services to see, how can we help move dialogue along, like you stated, or Representative Nager stated, to get more dialogue going on amongst agencies on how they can partner and work together. But for now, knowing the area that the Salvation Army serves and how much food they as a location give out to so many areas in Southeast and East Topeka, I would like to move forward on it.
And
Agreed.
I have no problems with it moving forward. This is one of those, again, where I struggle with, you kind of hinted this earlier, because it will serve a very important immediate need for people who need it right now, which of course can have a long-term benefit to them, but in terms of it being a long-term program,
Right.
it's not. And so that, as we've dealt with those priorities, that's what I've struggled with on several of these, but I agree that it should move forward at this time. The next one is Florence Crittenden Services of Topeka, in the amount of $250,000 for salary increases, training for mental health staff.
I think this is one of the ones that we're going to have additional conversation on about how funds may or may not be utilized. I'm also going to say it hits right at the heart of, we've seen in so many of these applications where there is no living wage being paid, and these organizations are just trying to lift them up even some small amount for staff retention. So I would like to move forward with this.
I agree. This is one of those where I have questions about the salary increase portion of it, but the rest of their application explains how other dollars would be used for training some important staff, which would then be long-term employees. So I think there's some conversations there about if we can, whether it's a reduction or a balance of those to save some dollars.
I absolutely agree. I have a family member who worked at Florence Crittenden for a couple of years a while back, and they do great work and necessary work. I would like to figure out how we can support them in the appropriate way. I think, to go back to what Valdivia Alcala mentioned earlier, it's just really, really frustrating when we know that one of the major hurdles that these organizations are facing are wages and keeping people there who are going to do a wonderful job for these people in need. And so,
You know, Representative,
for the future.
well, Representative Nager, listening at the state level, right, on their grant process and even their budget process this past year, there was so much dialogue on the lack of wage that was being paid to healthcare workers. And you could tell that they did not want to talk about it, they did not want to deal, but even some of the more conservative representatives were saying, we've got to get a handle on it. So again, we are not the be-all entity here because we only have $10 million, but I think if anything, maybe this might combine organizations to come together to take it to the legislature, and say, we've got to do something because we have aging out populations, children, just there's so much under paid staff out there. So, yeah.
That's an excellent point. Thank you for that information, Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala. And for the reminder that, the buck doesn't necessarily always stop with us.
What? The next one is Topeka Renovation, in the amount of $240,000 to renovate abandoned homes and lease to LMI individuals.
I'm just going to say that I have concerns that will not allow me to want this to move forward. I could find no information other than just the business name. I see no Facebook page. I see nothing that shows what they have done in community. They've only been in existence for 5 years. That doesn't mean that, I definitely know you can be in existence for 5 years or less and still do a hell of a lot of stuff, but I could not find anything, so I will not support this moving forward.
I would concur with not needing for this one to move forward.
I agree. I think that this is similar to some of the other applications that we saw. And there is more of a track record and more of a footprint that we can go ahead and lean back on with the appropriate use of the funds.
The next two are from Breakthrough House, but they are so distinctly different that instead of grouping them like we did the last one that were together, I'm going to do these separately. One is Breakthrough House in the amount of $8,300 for a payee program and to help those in financial crisis. I'll go ahead and say the second one is in the amount of $750,000 for their residential program for mental health. Like I said, they're very, very different applications when you read through them, what they're trying to do.
I suggest moving forward on both.
I would agree.
And I would agree.
The next one is Crayola Kids Child Care in the amount of $28,388.72 for building repairs and preschool curriculum. Sorry,
I think I lost that one.
the problem with this one is, it's my understanding that
They're
it's
out of
not in the
county.
city limits. That is a criteria for us for approving these. So if we find out differently, come forward and let us know at some point. But because of that, doesn't meet that criteria, I just don't think this one can move forward.
I agree.
Agreed.
The next one is Love Fellowship Church in the amount of $25,000 for daycare for congregants.
Okay, I saw that, and now I can't
Yeah, I just got
find
there.
it. Oh, there it is. 7 years in existence. I'd like to find out more about this, especially since it's dealing with childcare. So I will say move forward.
I would agree. I'm okay with moving forward. Just heads up, my biggest question will be if it's just for individuals who attend the parish or if it's for other individuals, just so they know. That'll be one of the questions you probably get that we would like answered, or at least from this perspective.
I agree.
The next one is Vallejo Behavioral Health in the amount of $683,726 for assertive community treatment mental health program.
Move forward.
Yep, I would agree. This is-
Agreed.
I gotta get organized over here. The next two are both from Cornerstone, two separate applications, somewhat separate but different, same but different projects. One is in the amount of $187,390 for the construction of affordable housing duplexes. The other one is the amount of $306,064 for the construction of 3 single-family affordable homes. So they're sort of the same concept, just different types of projects.
I would like to move forward. I think that this is going to be a chance for me with the questions I have to learn more about Cornerstone with new housing versus, housing stock that we already have. I know that they do wonderful things, but I would like to do the deep dive, so,
And how it fits into some of our,
yes,
our
moving forward.
planning. Councilman Nager?
I agree.
Okay. Then we'll move forward. The next one is Fellowship and Faith Ministry in the amount of $35,000 for food assistance and renovation of cold food storage.
I'm just going to say, knowing where this Fellowship and Faith Ministry is and having seen the work that they've done, and that they are one of the few Spanish-speaking that deal with hunger and other issues of insecurity, I'd like to move forward.
I would agree, and this is a good time to point out too, one of the conversations that the full council had when we got to things like capital improvements was, do we want to fund improvements? And our discussion was very clearly, if there is a program that has a mission and helping with that capital improvement takes the burden off them having to fundraise to fix that equipment and lets them to continue that program, then we were given a direction of yes, take a look at that one. And so when
Yes.
people ask about capital improvements, to me this falls into that category of what some of the direction we've been given. The
I
next
also-
one is, oh, sorry.
You're okay. I also see that there's a difference between some of the other capital improvements that have been proposed and this particular improvement. This is for food assistance, and then they need to have the cold storage to go ahead and move forward with that. That directly feeds into it. We have a lot of building improvements, improving lighting, the siding with one of the former proposals that we were looking at. I see this as being with this direct input into their service rather than being kind of housing it, I see it as more applicable for these funds.
Excuse me. The next one is from Arts Connect in the amount of $59,565 for art healing for veterans and first responders.
I definitely would like to see this move forward. I am intrigued with being an arts person, with utilizing art for healing. We know that it works. We know that there's art therapists out there, sand play therapists out there, all this type. But to utilize additional methods other than traditional therapy or medications as the exclusive zones, it's very interesting to me to see this branch off, and I would like to learn more. So I suggest to move forward.
Member Nager?
I agree with moving forward, specifically because this is the first project that has specifically focused on veterans. But for me, it's the first responders that really not changes how I feel about it, but really pushes it over the edge for me. The past 2.5 years have completely changed how our first responders deal with the public and the risks that they took. There is a lot of trauma throughout the world. And so I would like to go ahead and move forward with this particular project with asking more questions to see if we can go ahead and fund it.
Sure, sounds good. And then we'll move forward. The next one is the Topeka Center for Peace and Justice, the amount of $106,537 for job training for juvenile programs.
Am I right? Is this restorative justice practices? Okay.
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
I think so. From
Yes.
Frazier,
Okay.
that would be the one.
I am very intrigued about finding more about this. I don't profess to be any kind of expert in restorative justice, how they work with youth, what they've seen as a result, and how they see this as moving forward with, if they were funded. So I would like to move forward with it.
I'm okay with that. Councilmember Nager?
I'm okay with that. I'm good.
The next one is from Smith Properties and Family Services in the amount of $1 million to increase capacity of Another Chance Housing. To be honest, I don't know what to think about this one. That's my,
Yeah,
that is my very honest.
I had
assessment
deep
here.
skepticism about this. I do not feel that I can support this. It's $1 million. I don't see a lot out there when I went and looked, and I can't support it moving forward.
Any thoughts, Councilmember Nager?
I agree. I don't see this moving forward. I think one of the things and there was a proposal earlier that's not moving forward either. The track record and the standards for nonprofits completing this work makes me feel more secure in looking further into giving funds, into granting funds to those groups rather than nonprofit organizations completing the same work. That's just how I feel about it. So.
All right, that one will not move forward. Next up is Arts Connect, $69,480. After school songwriting song reading. After school songwriting at Boys and Girls Club. Hold on, sorry, had a typo.
I'm always about partnerships. I've heard about some of this particular program. I would like to do a deep dive to see what other information they have on how this can help our youth. I mean, we know that the arts are crucial. I mean, there's no doubt about that. We know they don't get it enough in school. But again, us being very intentional with these funds, I think that, I'll have a number of questions, but I would like to move forward on it.
Councilmember Nager, thoughts?
I would be good with moving forward. I know that this is the second application from Arts Connect. And so it might be that this is one of the programs, one of the applicants where we're starting to talk about like, where can we strategically invest? But I would be good with moving forward.
All right. The next one is from the Andal Forbes Enterprises, in the amount of $50,000 for workforce expansion and training.
Wait, I'm lost. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay. There's those first ones.
Yeah, see, this is where mine got out of order. Here we go.
I just think that this is something, because it's an LLC and not a nonprofit, it's not bashing LLCs, because we might find that, perhaps some of them may get funded, I don't know. But I see services that they are wanting to provide that are already provided by nonprofits in our city and have been for some time. So I cannot support moving this forward.
I had concerns based on the application on the longevity of the program, and that's why I'm not confident in having it move forward at this time.
And I agree.
The next one is Catholic Charities of Northeast Kansas in the amount of $264,980 to increase wraparound services and building repairs.
I suggest moving forward.
I would agree.
I agree. And they had a good breakdown too of where we can talk about the best application for ARPA funds.
The next one is from SLI in the amount of $277,885 for training and equipment to help those with intellectual disabilities.
Okay, I'm still trying to get the page.
You're good.
Okay. So this is what I thought about this. I think that we have this application, and I think that there's one out there, if we haven't gone through it already, on TARC.
Correct.
And I believe, my way of looking at it is that so often we forget about those with disabilities, and also with the other focus that they have, which is dementia, and which is our elders. So I definitely would like to move forward to learn more.
I would agree.
I absolutely agree.
The next one is from McIntosh Law Offices, $75,000 for a free legal clinic for low-income individuals. I have concerns with this one, only in the sense that as you read through the application, what starts to sound like it will be an actual legal clinic, and if this is an incorrect interpretation, I apologize, but I read it several times, looks like it turns more into pamphlets and information to hand out to folks instead of actual legal aid.
I think that's a good observation. Plus, with nonprofits that I've worked with, we've had free legal clinics with attorneys present doing it for free with pamphlets and question and answer. So I can't support this.
I agree.
The next one is the Community Resources Council in the amount of $900,000 to create more affordable housing for LMI individuals.
As I read over this, I was definitely intrigued and want to know more because of the partnerships that they have established, and what they are looking at, which is one of the main issues that we are dealing with housing in this city, is rehab of existing housing stock in LMI communities. So definitely have questions, but I would like to move this forward.
I agree.
I also agree. All right. We are 1 hour into this meeting. We're going to take a brief break because the chair has to use the bathroom. So let's take 10 minutes and we'll see you in 10 minutes. We'll see you in 15 after.
You were so transparent, Spencer.
All right, we are back from our break. I've had a few questions about this video for individuals who want to watch it later or refer it to other people. Starting this evening, it'll be available on the City of Topeka's YouTube channel. It's also, I believe, in our Facebook feed. And then on Monday, you can also get it if you go to the City of Topeka website, governing body, standing committees. The video is posted there. So you can start, if you want people who want to watch it over the weekend, just go back through and see what we've done. That's where you can find it. So I just wanted to make that announcement before we kept moving forward here. Anything you guys want to say before we start again? Just make sure we're good. All right. All right, with that, we will go to the next project, which is the Central Topeka Grocer Oasis Group in the amount of $800,000 for a green grocery store in the food desert of Topeka. Excuse me.
I know that there has been monumental issues that this Oasis has had and a lot of hard work behind their efforts. There are a number of questions I have. Obviously, my district in many ways has areas, pockets, which could be considered food deserts. So it's a large amount requested, but I would like to move forward with a number of questions to ask.
You are on mute still, council member.
Thank you. I would
You
also
don't
like,
want me pretending to say what you said. That would not go over.
I really appreciate that.
Oh, we didn't hear anything you said before that.
I would move forward. I would agree with moving forward.
All right, and it shall move forward. The next one is the Gil Carter Initiative in the amount of $75,000 for healthy food accessibility and child obesity. Oh, this is mine. It's out of order. Yeah. Sorry, this is the one.
Yeah, that was my fault, sorry.
No, I think it.
We're going to move past it.
We move things around and make notes, and then chaos ensues. So that's on us. Sorry, I need to find it 'cause I had some notes.
On this particular initiative, no, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I said. This one may even be.
You said it was Gil Carter.
Oh, this one was sent later.
Yes.
Yep, because I printed
Wait.
it out. It's in the back of my book.
Wait, I'm not there yet.
There are two Gil Carter.
Yeah, I think this was the one sent later. Because here it is. Okay.
I'm still not there yet. Where did you find it?
Well, I think I had to print it out separate. It was sent. We all saw it, but it may not have been printed.
I know I read
I read
it.
through it. I mean, I'm okay if we want to move this one forward. To be honest, I was a little confused about specifically what the program itself was going to do. It was a little general for me. So I will kind of go with the will of the group on this one, to be honest with you.
Can you tell me how much it was for?
Yep, it was for the amount of $75,000.
That's not it. I'm still looking at the wrong one.
And since I'm sure you read it, but since you don't
I
have to,
did.
we can move it forward.
I
and
would
then-
go ahead and say move forward.
Yep, let's do that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Put it.
The next one is Ad Astra Per Aspera Counseling in the amount of $750,000 for equine assisted therapy program.
I can't. I'm gonna say
I have no doubt that this is a tremendously wonderful program that helps and will continue to help many people. But as I've said before, for me, it did not meet a threshold of when I had to prioritize these projects, especially for the amount requested of something that I'm in favor of moving forward.
Oh, no.
So I'm not in favor of moving forward if I did not make that clear.
I agree.
The next one is It Takes a Village in the amount of $235,000 for a performing arts program for at-risk young people.
I'm still lost. I'm trying to
You might be
find-
back on track.
Okay, I have read it. I looked at their Facebook page. This is one of the ones that I want to state that what they have done with dance has been amazing, and as far as the young people that have been involved, and that it has a large enrollment of Black children, Black youth. And I think that these are the type of programs that, again, with the arts, have a powerful impact on a child's life. So I would like to see this move forward.
I don't know where I'll end up on this in the end. I'd like to see it move forward, and I will say that their programming and their program definitely also fits in with your comment earlier that it deals with racism as a public crisis in our community. So I'm in favor of it moving forward at this time.
And I'm in favor too.
The next one is Launch and Thrive Corporation in the amount of $100,000 for education for community members and mentoring. Back here, my notes on this one. Excuse me.
Hold on.
I think this is the one. Yeah, again, and any insight from anybody, if you have it, would be helpful. I again had just, it was very vague in terms of what the specific programming would be for me. I kind of got it, I kind of didn't. So then I debate whether that means I'd like it to move forward for additional questions, or if that's enough concerns for me to not move it forward.
There was hardly anything to the application, so I can't.
And I will say, it does, while it was not a hard and fast rule, we did ask that many of these organizations have been around for at least 3 years, and I believe this one's just over a year old. So that was another flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't support it moving forward.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is Downtown Topeka in the amount of $600,000 for redevelopment incentives. I'm not going to rehash what I've said earlier about some of these programs that while they're worthwhile, I just don't support moving this one forward.
Neither do I.
Agreed.
The next one is WatchGuard Ministries CDC Inc. of Topeka in the amount of $250,000 for independent retirement living communities.
Let's see.
There was not a lot to this application. And so, yeah, there are many, many questions. And I did not have the time for this particular application to go ahead and look further and do any of my own additional research. Did either one of you come across anything?
I did not come across anything, and it looked like a very new
Warriors?
program. So and of course I'm having problems finding it now. Thoughts, Chair?
I would be okay with not moving this one forward.
Okay. I think that the lack of kind of conviction that any of us have, I'm okay with not moving this one forward either.
All right. The next one is Battle Tested Armor Ministries in the amount of $800,000 for the purchase of land and cabins for transitional housing.
I cannot support this. I know the area that they're speaking of. Looking at the application, I cannot support this to move forward.
I also mark this as not supportive of moving forward.
Agreed.
The next one is Working Men of Christ in the amount of $86,000 for housing for formerly incarcerated homeless and vets.
Hold on just a second.
Right. Well, heck, let me get the right. Sorry.
Was this, Chair, was this the one that had ministry aspect as part of.
Correct.
I will not support that.
As someone who is a lifelong cradle Episcopalian, believes strongly in religion and goes, I agree with that same sentiment.
Yeah, I was lifelong Catholic.
I know,
though.
so I-
12 years Catholic
I want to
high
make clear,
school.
that's not our,
Yeah.
but yes, I don't think it's appropriate for funding at this time.
Agreed.
The next one is the second application from the Gil Carter Initiative in the amount of $50,000 for food and clothing assistance for LMI.
Okay, I got this. Hold on. You know, I was intrigued with this application because many of the things that it's modeling with the access to healthy food mimic, or not mimic, but are similar to what some gardens are doing in other areas of town. That is where you go on not only to grow the food and encourage your community to grow along with whatever organization you are, but that you also teach them through the cooking classes on how to eat healthier foods. I know an organization, or small community organization that's doing very similar, and all their classes are going to be free. And the thing that we've noticed is it takes a little bit for it to get going. I would like to hear more about this, because this area and having many relatives in this area, which is behind the Highland Park High School, is a deeply underserved area. But there are questions, but I would like to see it move forward.
I agree. Of the two that they submitted, they're both fairly good applications. I like this one a little more than the other, so I definitely would like to see this one move on.
I support that.
All right, I think I'm on the next page. Hopefully it's the right page in the right order here. We shall see. Next one is Wonderful Works in the amount of $300,000 for housing program for 21 families needing shelter.
I cannot support this. I've talked to a number of community members, done some research, and I don't feel good about it, so I cannot support this moving through.
Any comments or questions, Councilmember Nager?
No, it was just one of the shorter applications as well. There would be a lot of need for clarification if we were going to move forward with it.
I will concur with Councilmember Valdivia-Alcala and not move this one forward.
Okay.
Community action in the amount of $700,000 for rental assistance, food, etc. for those in need. The etc. is in the application. It was a longer list than that. So, just to be clear, they didn't just put etc. Please give us money.
Community action has been around for, a long time. I think this is definitely one where we might have to see strategically what we're looking at with the cost, but I would like to move it forward.
I would be good with that.
Agreed. Next is Pappins Landing Senior Center, the amount of $493,410 for salaries, expansion, vans, security, air filters, and a few other items. This is one of those that I am interested in moving forward, but would probably, as I mentioned earlier, like to have a discussion about things like salaries, maybe not, but certainly some of the other items could still be viable.
I would agree. This particular senior center is very, very old, and it is, having seen it up front and personal as a haven for so many elders, it was decimated with COVID, and I saw that up close and personal. And I know that they do have a new director now, which hopefully will help them as they, navigate this new, post-COVID realm. So I would like to move them forward as well.
I'm good with that.
The next one is Ad Astra Logistics in the amount of $750,000 for fiber optic infrastructure program. I think it sounds cool. I don't know that it's something we should fund at this time. would be
No.
my initial thought.
I agree.
I agree. I think there was one sentence that I felt like was clear about what they wanted to do with the funds. Everything else was very interesting information. And so I do not support moving forward with this one.
The next is Ad Astra Per Aspera Counseling in the amount of $500,000 for a summer program teaching life skills for at-risk youth.
Again, I cannot support this.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
Next is the YWCA of Northeast Kansas in the amount of $184,837,000 for continuing to running the day center for trafficked victims.
Move forward is my suggestion.
Yes,
Yep.
I agree. And I know that the YWCA Northeast Kansas has another application in here too. I think these are a little bit more where we have to kind of parse out what would be appropriate applications of ARPA funds. So, but please, let's move forward.
The next one is Topeka Opportunity Fund in the amount of, make sure I get this right, the amount of $1.45 million to build a community commercial kitchen.
I cannot support.
No, again, this has been talked about by some organizations. I think it's a great idea. I just don't think, again, it falls into the other priorities list for me to have it move forward. You okay with that, council member?
I am okay with that.
All right. The next one is Stay Calm, the amount of $50,000 for marketing and education to stay calm in emergencies.
This is stay calm with the added Spanish component, calmate, which calmate meaning stay calm as well. I ran into one of these, not literally run into a brochure, but one of their brightly colored holders with information in both English and Spanish right off the bat about how to stay calm when law enforcement stops you. And especially for those folks that may have concerns with documented or undocumented status, it gives them, I thought, some very basic good information. There are questions that I would like to ask. I think it's very novel in its approach, and I would definitely want to know that this is more than just handing these out, but actually getting involved more. So I have more questions and would like to see it move forward.
I would be good with that.
Yep, I agree. All right, we'll move forward. I guess. So the next three are from the Boys and Girls Club of Topeka. They include $180,000 for new buses, $150,000 for staff recruitment and retention, and $125,000 for boiler hot water tank replacement. I understand why they did three separate applications, but I mean there may be a further discussion of consolidation of one or two of these into one sort of application that we might be willing to do. So having said that, I'm open to moving them all forward with sort of that understanding, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the only hesitation I have on moving them all forward is that I just, with an HVAC, you know, I'm thinking they are wonderful fundraisers and they know they're so connected in community. Could they not get this from somewhere else other than the utilization of $125,000 of these ARPA funds? You know, I'm okay with putting all three of them forward. I can just tell you that I'm not a huge supporter of the HVAC part of it.
And truthfully, I have no problem with moving forward the $180,000 request, the $150,000 request, and not moving forward on on that request. I'm okay
Then I'm
with that
good.
too. I
I'm
just
good
wanted
with
to-
that. I don't know what Representative.
I would be happy to do that, yeah.
The next one is Vallejo Behavioral Health in the amount of $185,000, expanding access to those with homelessness. Jump through a few here now. Why do these ones look so different than the other ones?
I think that
So-
they went to it first. They got some of the first apps.
Well, some of them are different. Like I don't know if you noticed, the Boys and Girls Club was different. That was
was.
because they sent theirs in like a regular PDF,
Oh, okay.
and then like I could see their answers if I scrolled, but you couldn't. So I had to copy their responses
Yeah.
and paste it up behind
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So
Just
some
so
of
everyone-
those things caused some of the discrepancies.
No, it's fine. I was just, honestly,
Yeah.
it was more of a curiosity. Just so everyone knows, it's all the same questions and everything. It's
Yeah.
just, it's a different formatting in terms of the paperwork, so.
Let me
Making sure
just-
we read them all.
Yeah.
Let me look at this so I can get a refresher.
Yep.
With this Vallejo one
Take your
real
time.
quick. Oh, so it looks like Vallejo, it's the shower and laundry trailer twice weekly at various locations. This is my concern. I am so supportive of Vallejo and getting them increased, hopefully if everything works, some kind of money for mental health because they are the big entity in Topeka. I have concerns about this washing, the shower and the laundry in that we are looking at a new initiative within the city, Equity Access Shelter, that deals with the chronic unsheltered community. Money's going to be put into that, I think, with an extra position. Corey Wright and staff are working with all of their partners to try to tighten up duplication of services. How do we really deal with getting the chronic unsheltered off the street and in utilizing basically something like a housing first approach? I can tell you that there are some communities, and parts of my community are one of them, that have issues with the deployment of these mobile units going into their neighborhoods because they believe that it attracts the chronic unsheltered more into an already troubled area with chronic unsheltered. With that said, I know that sounds probably pretty unchristian, but I struggle with it. So I understand if you guys want to move forward with this, but I think especially with this new program coming down the pike with the city and having deep hopes for that, this is something I'm probably going to move away from.
Okay. Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala, I was looking on page 9, and it looks like it's even past the unit itself, and it's paying the salaries of a case manager, recovery specialist, path specialist. Is this getting into the salary?
Oh, I
and-
see what you're looking at in that final paragraph.
Yeah.
Oh, that was me not looking through it deep enough.
There's been plenty. So that was what was giving me pause with this, was that it was they were very upfront about that they wanted to go ahead and use it for salaries. They wanted to replace a washer and dryer and pay for tags, taxes, tires, maintenance, and insurance for the truck, and then pay for items that they would give out to individuals. And so, whereas their other application seemed very straightforward and fell within the parameters of what we were looking at, this seemed a little bit more in that we're not going to call it a gray area, but gray area for me.
I agree. I mean, to be honest, on some of these where there are multiple applications from organizations, at some point we got to make cuts. We have $34 million requested. We have $10 million in front of us. And so as I looked at the two applications from Vallejo, I'll be honest, I'm very supportive of their other one. This was me. If something had to go for that, this was it of the several that they submitted. So, I mean, I am okay with not moving this one forward, knowing that especially that we've moved one of their applications forward at this time.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
The next one is the YWCA of Northeast Kansas, in the amount of $418,000 for facility repairs and HVAC replacement.
You know, I would say yes to moving it forward. But again, this might be one of those where we have to look at the full amount versus what's the most beneficial and strategic.
Yep, I would agree. So I'm okay moving it
I'm good
forward
with
at
that.
this time.
Yeah.
The next one is from El Centro in the amount of $828,295 for Immigrant Assistance Clinic. Immigrant Assistance Clinic. It should not be a tongue twister, but it is.
This is a very large amount, and at the same time I say that, I say in the same breath that for immigration services and money's going towards that in this town are very few and far between. They are the undocumented, those seeking asylum, those seeking valid visas, those that are seeking citizenships, whatever the case may be, they are probably the most silent or one of the most quiet and not asking for much communities in this city, and yet we know the places where they work and how we benefit off of their labor. We still don't even have a full recognition across this country that they feed us, along with other marginalized folks. So I think that there are some really good parts of this plan that I could support, and others I could not. So I would like to move forward.
I would agree.
Yeah, they have a good breakdown. I'm sorry, Chair.
Oh, go ahead. I just said I would agree with her assessment.
Excellent. I do too. On page 13, there was a breakdown of year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. They were very upfront about talking about this, how much is going to be expanding the capacity. I think that there are ways that we can go ahead and work with them to figure out the right application for ARPA funds. So I do support this moving forward as well.
Next application is Community First International Academy in the amount of $800,000, programs for the school.
I think it's amazing hearing and reading about this school, that they do what they do based on such a small tuition, and yet a number of their families, from what I've heard, can't afford this tuition. So I think that this is one of those that hits very deeply to me with the aspirations when you look at racism as a public health crisis. It's a lot of money. I'd like to ask more questions, because their ability to imagine and dream in an already established school of what can be for their children is amazing to me. So I would like to move forward and ask more questions, understanding that there may be some give and take here.
Thoughts, Councilmember Nager?
I know that there's a lot going on in this application. What held me up was whenever I looked at provide a detailed explanation of the proposed program, it was mainly focused on introducing aviation science to the curriculum. And as I'm not as familiar with the school, I just felt like as I was going through these applications, I saw the same things come up again and again and again. And this kind of seemed out of left field. If we move forward with this, I do have a lot of questions. I just did not feel as comfortable with it in this state. So
That's understandable.
Well, I think it's worthwhile moving forward and,
Okay.
and getting some of those questions answered before we can make a more educated decision on that.
sounds good.
I'm okay with that. The next one is Tara D. Wallace, LLC, in the amount of $300,000 for Certified Family Resource Center for Trauma and LMI. I don't know that I support moving this forward, but maybe I don't know what I don't know.
I felt similarly. I felt like there was good educational components to this. Information for me to learn from, but I felt like what I didn't get as much information about what is already being done, the personnel, the current location or locations, the existing services. I felt like there was a need that was stated and that they would like to meet that need. And I felt like there was enough background for me to really feel confident about moving forward with this.
Same.
All right. The next one is TARC, the amount of $92,500, a feeding clinic for children in need.
The explanation that I've read on this, well, I'm sure I'll have additional questions, and just that that their amount requested was not that much, and it was so intentional and focused on how they were going to apply it. I would really want to move forward on this.
I agree.
Me too. And just coming from my background and my expertise, these serving people in the community with these sorts of challenges is extremely difficult for finding just medical care and in my field, dental care. Just trying to make sure that kids are getting the nutrients that they need and doing that in a regular and healthy way that doesn't tire out the caretakers. So this really stood out to me as something we should definitely look at how we can invest in it. So I definitely support it.
Great. The next one is Family Service and Guidance Center in the amount of $1 million for a new youth crisis and recovery center.
With knowing the mental health issues that are just plaguing youth and the increase in the suicide rate, I'm definitely intrigued and would want to move forward on this.
I'd agree. My family has used services several years ago from them, so I'm well aware of what they offer, and I'd at least like to pursue it. Again, as mental health crisis is something we've focused on in this, I think it's at least worth looking into further.
Agreed. I know that it's looking into building more of a new program than some of the other applications we have looked at, but especially with this being pandemic related funds, what you two have both mentioned, that's why I feel like I can support this moving forward with this, finding out more of how we can help.
The next one is Washburn University in the amount of $500,000 for increased CCTV recording and monitoring at Washburn. I totally understand their need and desire for this in terms of some safety and some of their housing. I get it. It's worthwhile. It kind of was an easy no for me, to be honest.
No, as well.
As it's in my district, reading about how they wanted to go ahead and put surveillance in the neighborhoods, I just knew I'm not saying this because I want to avoid getting emails, but I think that there's a lot more that needs to be looked into as far as increasing the feeling of safety in that community. Also with a sibling who just graduated from Washburn Law School and hearing some of the sort of culturally accepted, oh, this is a safe area, this is a dangerous area. There were some things that didn't sit quite right with me, not due to this application, but I think that there's other ways to go ahead and address these issues and to work with the community rather than, and sorry about the doorbell, rather than just starting to put up surveillance systems where people who are not associated with the university are living. There's definitely some safety concerns, but I don't know that this is the right way to go ahead and tackle them at this time.
Agreed. All right. I think we're down to a few. When we get to the end, there was another list, so make sure. I think I got them on here, but there was a second, but you'll tell me. So, The next one is the International Public Policy Institute in the amount of $45,000 to build capacity to deal with human trafficking.
I cannot support it.
I also was not supportive of this one.
Agreed.
Housing and Credit Counseling, Inc. in the amount of $84,920 for tenant landlord counseling and eviction prevention.
I think that this is something that I would like to take a deeper dive. I personally, dealing with constituents in my district, have had challenges at times with HCCI. Some of that, I think is being rectified, and as we move more into the changing our culture of property maintenance and doing a deep dive into policy, I think that their partnership is definitely still needed and valued, so I would like to see this move forward.
I would agree.
I would be fine with learning more.
The next one we have is Vita Ministry, Inc. in the amount of $200,000 for ESL classes and ERC membership. Similar to one we had earlier, however. I think the concern is I do not believe they are in the city limits. They were also unable to produce a certificate of good standing with the state of Kansas. So again, I'll put out like I did earlier. If for some reason we are incorrect in those assessments, provide us a certificate and show us you're in the city limits, then we will be more than happy to reconsider, take a look at that, but that is our concern with that application. So
Agreed.
just qualifying it. And then I have as the last one, is this correct? Okay, I thought so.
Is it Hearts?
Hearts,
Yep,
yes,
that's
okay.
the
I just want to
last
make sure I'm actually, is Hearts in the amount of $50,000 for Public Health and Safety Crew Program. What were the notes here?
I would like to move forward to know more.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm good with that. I would move forward on that one.
I'm good with that.
All right. So a couple things. I believe that's the last one. Verifying with you, that's the last one.
That is the last
Pretty sure
one,
the notes
yes.
I made said that was the last one. I have no idea what kind of haircut we did, and that's okay. We will put those numbers together and get them out there as to where this is. What I'd ask staff to do, and I'll open up public comment here in a minute if there's any, but what I ask staff to do is provide us the updated spreadsheet that has the ones that are moving forward. And then if we have that Monday or so, please, council members, look at it and make sure we all double check to make sure we didn't miss one that we've all marked here today. I don't want anyone to slip through the cracks that way. We'll double check that to make sure it's valid and then get that posted with the new totals and where we're at. With that, I will open it up for any public comment. Again, we'll follow the rules of the council, 4 minutes. I'll cut you off after that. I'll try to give you some kind of warning. I don't know if there is much public comment. Those of you will have a chance to follow up if you've been selected to move forward, and we will get those sent to you, whatever that date was I gave, a week plus. Be on the lookout to get the follow-up information that we've requested. But I do want to give anyone an opportunity if they have anything to add to this process today, an opportunity to say something if you think it's necessary. If you're online, you just got to hit the little raise your hand button. That's the way since we disable the chat feature. Is there anyone in the room? Give you an opportunity. Going once, going twice in the room. Lazone, was that a yes, I'd like to say something, or are you just waving hi? Okay, good either way, but if you'd like to say something there. You know where the mic is. All right, I was wrong. Of all the people, I
Get a big mic, you know. Hello, Lazone Grace, IBSA Incorporated. Thank you for taking the time to do a very thorough job and making the opportunity fair, competitive, and open. One, I do support the Impact Avenues program. And I was listening. I think that there was it's not the MAP program, and they had been in it for 3 years other than one. But, from the very beginning, and I had submitted some recommendations, and the city had 40-some million, I would have recommended, I'd probably of taking that out of there and then making that other 10 million available to the nonprofits. If you haven't spent the monies, maybe it's something that you can consider. I hope there are some things that I've heard, and you may want to get with whoever, the city manager and Mr. Wade. If the city doesn't know what its infrastructure allotment is going to be, it seemed like a lot of the things that you were talking about would be infrastructure, and so all hope would not be lost if things that were infrastructure related were not funded, because you will probably find yourself in the same position to where some committee is going to have to go through a process for allocating and dishing out some of those infrastructure monies as well. And as you had mentioned when your first meeting, that you were trying to focus on those things that were about sustainability. After 4 years, when these monies have to be gone, will those programs or projects still be around? Are you just funding something to get a person some monies for 1 year? Or is it something that is being gauged over the 4 years? If I'm not mistaken, the monies have to be spent by December 31st, 2026, or something of that nature there. So I would just hope that you would consider some of those things, that which are those that are going to be gauged over 4 years. I can probably get $50,000 for a 1 year project, but 3 years down the road, that doesn't mean that I'll have the funds to sustain it. And so just hoping that those are some of the things in consideration, and just want to appreciate the opportunity to apply and to be a part of sharing information every step of the way and making recommendations on things.
Thank you. Did anyone pop up online while we were? All right, then I will do a last call online. Hit that button now or forever not hit the button, I guess. I will just say, oh, okay, yep, go ahead. Jill's iPhone, if you could tell us who you are. You got a few minutes here for your public comment.
Yes. Hi, this is Jill Rice with Fellowship Highcrest. And I just wanted to make a brief comment. I know our application was early on in the process, and it was mentioned that we were the same organization as Topeka, and we are indeed completely separate organizations and function completely separate. We have totally separate boards, totally separate staff, and our applications are totally separate, and the funds that we applied would be for something that is a completely separate project. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was clear and was being taken into consideration. So thank you.
We appreciate that clarification. I guess I'll ask if knowing that has any impact on us wanting to change our decision.
Okay.
Not with me.
Thank you, Jill.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other comments online? All right. I'll give the other two a chance if you want to say anything. I'll just wrap up today with I do appreciate this.
We have one more comment.
One more?
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
I was going to say, you're really good. It's 5 o'clock and you just did an excellent job. I do want to say thank you for the opportunity. This is a first, actually, for us, because basically our program has been volunteer, and we've made a lot of commitments from the public and from actually struggling families. Not that any others haven't, but we just wanted to say this is an opportunity for us, and we're willing to scale down or to work around it, but we feel that this was the privilege of this community to be able to come forward and to really express the need that we see and have been seeing for some time. So thank you again, and it's 5 o'clock, so I don't know if you're ready to ring the bell, but
I'm here.
we thank
I'm here
you.
as long as we need to be here, even though it's
Now
Friday
that is-
and it's 5
all right,
o'clock.
let's see what is for dinner. No, but really,
Making
thank you
sure
very
everyone
much.
has their opportunity is more important than
Can I
the
just say
clock,
something
But thank
else?
you. Yes.
This isn't to anyone in general. I just wanted to make sure that the audience out there watching and on Zoom, whether they could see or not, is that our minority community, our Black and brown community, is present here today in a large capacity. Just like when there was the informational meeting, I think that it was, they were here as well. And I'm just going to state it again, that at the council level, I think that oftentimes we are very remiss to talk about racism as a public health crisis, not just here in Topeka, all over our nation. And we only want to, at times, talk about race when it is something that we can pat ourselves on the back on, or someone else on the back, on the back about. And those are good because those are needed as well. But this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the rubber meets the road. And this is where we are going to offer ourselves as listening to you, listening to what the services that you provide, asking hard questions of everyone, to see where the most vital needs and empty spots are. So I just want to thank specifically everybody, but the minority community, underserved communities, for taking the time to be here or to be on Zoom, because it means a lot to have your presence here. Thank you, Chair.
Did I miss anybody else? I really don't want to make... Councilmember Nager, do you have any final thoughts? I will just remind the applicant... Okay.
Oh, no.
Applicants,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay. I just want to remind the applicants that are moving forward that the follow-up questions and information requests should go out on probably Monday, August 29th. So if by Tuesday, August 30th, you haven't seen it, maybe it goes into spam or something, it's okay to contact myself or staff, finance staff, and just say, hey, we're pretty sure we're supposed to have those questions. I do not want you to miss time on getting those responses to us, because I know that every day counts. Even 2 weeks seems like a long time, but it is. So I want to thank everybody for this part of the process, and with that, I will adjourn this meeting. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.